For us now. Just explain to us why it's not a good thing that the oil is so low.
Well, it's not always a bad thing for all sides. If oil prices do go very low, remember that gives no impetus to the oil producers, the OPEC countries and other countries like that to invest in new infrastructure. Because remember, to build a refinery costs billions of pounds. And it doesn't get done overnight. So if the price of oil is too low, then they're not making enough money and they're not going to make that infrastructure investment. So stability of prices is the name of the game today. The Prime Minister was here earlier this morning talking about a new way of sharing information and creating that stability. But he wasn't chairing the meeting. The chair of the meeting was Ed Miliband. He is the Secretary of State for Energy and Climate Change, and he set out some of the ways he thought that today's meeting would help reduce that volatility in oil price.
We should look at all options that can help us to ensure that for the British consumer we don't see the kind of price spikes, the kind of increases in price, so oil going to $147 a barrel and people paying for it at the pumps that we saw earlier this year. That's the intention of this meeting. That's the point of the dialogue between consuming and producing countries, and that's the work we're going to take forward.
Well, one of the most important bodies involved in establishing that dialogue between the oil-producing countries and the oil-consuming countries in Europe and North America is the International Energy Forum. And with me now is the Secretary General of the International Energy Forum, Noé van Hulst. Noé, thank you very much for joining us on BBC News. You guys are put in a pretty invidious position. You've got to create some sort of give and push between consumers and producers.
Yeah, it's a great challenge, but it's increasingly important nowadays with the interdependence between oil-producing and oil-consuming countries only increasing. We need to have a stronger and a better dialogue between oil-producing and oil-consuming countries.
Yeah, but that's very easily said. But how are you going to do that? How are you going to make the benefit for the producers match the benefit for the consuming country?
Well, one of the things that we definitely need to tackle is to damp down this extreme oil price volatility that we have seen in this year. I mean, we haven't seen anything like this before. And this really needs to be reduced by, for instance, much better data transparency on what is going on in the oil market.
And what about the speculation, the money market guys that bet on the price of oil? OPEC has said very clearly that they are predominantly to blame for oil prices reaching $147 a barrel. How do you negate the impact of those guys?
They are definitely part of the game, but the first thing that we should do is leave as little room as possible for speculation. And we can do that by providing and making better data on consumption, production and stocks in the oil market. Because the better data that we have in the market, the less room there is for speculation.
Noé van Hulst, the Secretary General of the International Energy Forum, thank you very much for joining us on BBC News. I'll have to apologise for the noise going on in the background. One of London's most famous hotels is being redeveloped, as you can hear. You can't necessarily see it. But from the conference here in the Intercontinental Energy Summit, back to the studio.
Thank you, Joe. Thanks for the explanation as well to do with the noise. Thank you.
Yes, that was quite a noise as well. Let's talk to Joel Hanley, who's from Platt.